All right, we're going to go ahead and start up, guys. Did anyone not get a handout? You might not have gotten one. Okay, there's extras here. Hold up extras if you have extras. All right, you got one? Nope. Bonnie needs one over here. Can someone make sure Bonnie gets one? Do we have any more extras? I printed out 30. Okay, and then I think you guys need a handout, right? Okay, we need 2 right here as well, and then Joshua's going to need 1. So it's good to have the hams back. They went out gallivanting around last week, swimming with manatees and all kinds of stuff. It's all
fun. Clearwater.
Was it Clearwater? Where'd you go?
Oh, that's fun. It's such a good place.
That does count as an unexcused absence, but you have a maximum of 2 of those. So you got 1 more after this. I will say, someone commented on one of the YouTube videos asking why I can't show the screen, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to say, if you ever want these slides, whether you're on YouTube or you're here in person, if you just ever want them, just let me know. The best thing to do is shoot me an email or give me a piece of paper with your email address on it so that I can have a physical reminder that I need to email you. Yeah, a piece of paper with your name and your email address on it, and I'd be happy to send you any or all of these. Ooh, what?
Do you want to say what your email address is?
Yeah, my email address is just gabrielrutledge@gmail.com. gabrielrutledge@gmail.com. All right, so welcome to Hebrew Lesson 6, and let's open in prayer, and then we're going to jump right into it. Ready? Avinu Malkeinu, we're just so grateful for your Shabbat this morning, this beautiful day you provided to us. And again, thank you for the rain that you brought on our land as a blessing. We ask that you rain down your teaching this morning, your Ruach, to illuminate your word and just reveal your will as we conform our lives around that of our Messiah this morning. We thank you and praise you for his sacrifice, and help us to live lives that are worthy of his dying for it. And it's in Yeshua's name we all pray. Amen. So today on our agenda, we're going to cover the alphabet again, final forms, alphabet quiz, and no, this is the wrong one, isn't it? We covered this last week, didn't we? I think I didn't change it. Let me see if I've got the right thing up here. This was last week's. Okay, I think we're good. Oh, I just didn't change the cover slide. But today what we're going to cover in our fundamentals class is the concept of a Messiah. So let's go to the next slide here. Last week was the hierarchy of the local assembly, but all right. So I hope you guys have been studying the Hebrew alphabet throughout the week and everything. We have an extra handout. We need 2 more handouts here. These guys. Let's go through the Hebrew alphabet, and we'll say the letters, and then we'll snake it around the room or something like that. We'll switch it up a little bit, okay? So starting from the right, go to the left. We're going to skip the final forms and the other slight variations of each letter. So let's go Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin,
Het, Tet, Yod, Vav, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samet, Ayin, Hey, Sadi, Shin, Tav.
All right, let's try it again, a little bit faster. You guys are getting warmed up this morning. All right, Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey,
Vav, Zayin, Het, Tet, Yod, Kav, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samet, Ayin, Hey, Sadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Tav.
All right, let's try it without it. Aleph, Beit,
Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Het, Tet, Yod, Kav, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samet, Ayin, Hey, Sadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Tav.
Good job. I'm going to say the letter. You tell me the sound that that letter makes. Are you ready? Aleph, Beit,
Ba,
Gimel,
Ga,
Dalet,
Da,
Hey,
He,
Vav,
Ba,
Zayin,
Za,
Chet,
Ka,
Tet,
Ta,
Yud,
Yod,
Kaf,
Ka,
Lamed,
La,
Mem,
Ma,
Nun,
Na,
Samech, Ayin,
Ah,
Pei,
Pa,
Sadi, Kuf,
Kuf,
Resh,
Ra,
Shin,
Sh,
Tav.
Tav.
Good. I'll do a little bit faster. Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech, Ayin, Pei, Sadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, and Tav. All right, let's snake it around the room. We'll start with Bonnie, and we'll go around like so. You ready? And say it. We got to say it loud and pay attention because if it jumps a row, it's hard to hear. So say it nice and loud, okay, for everybody in the room to hear.
Olive.
Beit. Gimel.
Hey.
Va.
Ket.
Ket. Rhymes with ket. Tet.
Yod. Kaf.
Mim.
Good.
Noon. Wow. No, it's not. Why are you whispering?
I'll be setting you up for failure, isn't it?
What were you? I'm trying to remember now. Noon?
Yeah.
Noon. Summit.
Ayin.
Hey.
Kuf.
Resh.
Sheen.
Okay, Olive.
Dalet. Hey.
Vav.
Zion.
Samech.
No. Zion. Mosquito. Chet.
Tet.
Eli. Good. Oh.
One.
Kaf.
Cough. So the L sound.
Lamed.
Lamed.
Mem. Noon.
Samet.
Ay. Bay.
Sadi.
Kuf.
Stacy. Sadi. Kuf.
Resh.
Good, we got it. Okay. All right, let's go to. Oh, can someone grab my flashcards? You know where my flashcards are at? Up there on top of that shelf. Let's go. Grab it. While he's going to get those flashcards, let's go over the final forms of the letters. My clicker just stopped working. Why you know where? There it is. Okay. So final forms of the letter: Kaf, Mim, Noon, Hey, and Sadi. Do they change their sound at all? No. And when do we see these kinds of letters?
The end of a word.
The end of the word. The end of a word. All right. So I gave you guys a break on Round the World last week. I think I'm going to make you do it this week. All right, ready? So I'm going to show you the letter, and then you're going to travel on. So Eli versus Noah. So Eli, you stand up. Are you ready? So guys, be looking over your charts. Make sure you ready.
Loman.
Good. Move on. Raymond and Noah. Ready?
Hey.
He got it with hey. Move on. Ready? Todd, move on. Uh-oh. Ready?
Resh.
You got it. Move on. Joshua. Make sure. Okay.
Kaf.
Good. Move on. Uh-oh.
Kaf.
Got it. Move on. Uh-oh.
Hey.
Bay.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll take pay. You ready?
Hey.
You got it. Move on.
C.
Got it. Move on. Uh-oh. Not the clean house.
She.
Sheep.
Ooh, close. That was close, though. Good job. Good job.
Nobody else wants to get up.
Here, I couldn't hear because let me do a different one.
Bet.
Ooh, she got it. She knocked him out. She knocked him out. Good job, though. You traveled far.
It won't last long.
All right, you ready? Go.
Pop.
Ooh. Let's do it different.
Do it again.
Huh? Yeah, I think. So this is the
I
mosquito.
didn't do mine.
Oh, okay. This is the mosquito letter.
Check.
You got it. Move on.
Yeah.
All right. You got the mosquito. You ready? Ian. This is the righteous man praying.
Zach.
You got it, Ian. Move on. Good job. All right, Hannah and Ian.
Ayin.
Got it. Move on. Uh-oh.
10.
Oh man, I think it was Ian by a hair.
Yud.
You got it, Ian. Ian's cleaning up.
Chet. It's a vet. Cop.
You got it. Come on, Patrick got it. I like how Patrick was just like, that's a vet. In calm, collected voice. All right. It's the final countdown.
Gimbal.
Got it. Move on. Uh-oh. Got it. You gonna go against my bet? Look at these. All right. All right. I want you to think final letter, final form. You got it. Uh-oh. The men are kind of cleaning house today. Last week, I don't know, it was always the ladies who were doing. It was Anthony by hair. You ready? Oh man, I'm gonna call tie.
Cop.
Got it. See, you guys have fun with this. You got it, Zion. It was funny. You both said Saudi, and then you both said Zion. It's funny. All right. I want you to think final form letter. Final form letter.
Summit.
Nope.
Men.
Mem. Pretty sure.
Summit.
You think that's a summit? Oh, these flashcards drive me crazy. All right.
Hey.
Got it. Stephanie. Anthony.
Dolly. Cop.
Cough. Got it. It's a final cough. Here, not this one. Not this one. Okay, here we go. Mem, you got it. All right. Let's do Anthony, Ian, Patrick, and Raymond right here on the side. We'll have an elimination round. Okay, you ready?
We all like things.
Dolly.
Man, I could not tell.
Anthony or
Olive. Love it.
Man, what do you guys think?
Ian.
He goes Ian. Here, let's do one more and see. Let's do one more.
Hey.
Man, you guys are good.
Cop. Cop.
Yeah, Anthony got that one at top. All right, cool. Good job. Good job. That's fun. All right, so we got final form letters. We covered that. Where's my clicker not working? We did flashcards. We got that. All right, let's review some words we learned thus far. And what word is this right here? I heard somebody say it. Oh, we made. Yeah, and not an SH. It's just a soft S sound. But good job. Yeah, bet-so-ra. Bet-so-ra. Okay, because we have the Vav. He's catching the ball above his head. He's saying oh. The Vav can change its sounds. But yeah, that would be bet-so-ra. And what does bet-so-ra mean? It's the good news. Yeah, the good news. Let me see if the clicker works now. I just have to do old school with it. What does that say?
Shema.
Shema. Shema. Yeah, there's usually, if you see this vocalized, there is a, oh, that's why the battery popped out. There's what's called a, if you see this with a vowel, there's usually a non-vocal shva at the base of the sheen, and it makes it, what it tells you to do is blend the sheen and the mem together, and it goes shema, shema, like that, okay? So that's shema. What does shema mean?
To hear with intent to do.
Yeah, to hear with the intent to do, to hear and to obey, right? What is this? Derek. Derek. And it means the way, yeah, way or path, right? That's haderek, the way, the way. Notzri. Notzri. What is notzri? It's like a branch. I mean, yeah, it's a shoot, a branch, a Christian, right? Follower of the Netzer. This is notzrim. Notzrim. And what does this mean? It's just the plural form of the prior word, yeah. The shoots, yeah. Or the branches, or the guardians, or the watchmen. Ha-notzrim, yeah. The Notzrim. The Nazarenes. right? All right, we're going to go now to a quiz, and we do this every week, but it's good practice. So I'm going to give you guys 3 minutes. Put your charts away. I want to see your letters out there. It's from memory. All right, everybody square away, ready to go? Got your charts hidden. All right. Go ahead and take 3 minutes. 1 through 22, write as many letters as you can. 3 minutes. Are there any extra handouts, guys? Something? Yeah, there's. Anybody else need a handout? Don't forget, next week is going to be, we're going to break off into advanced Hebrew. So those who want to do the more advanced track. That'll be next week, 9 a.m. Say it, say it a lot.
I know, but I can't write.
Yeah. All right. Take about 2 more minutes. All right, 30 seconds. It's the longest minute ever. All right, 15 seconds. So I'm going to have you swap with your neighbor here in a second. Oh, you're right. All right, time is up. So swap with your neighbor and let them fill in any gaps that you had. Let's take about a minute or so and do that. Have them fill in the gaps.
I personally shrunk. I got yours. You got my paper.
I got my paper.
You got my paper right here. So I got to check it off.
It's like major gaps. Oh, no worries. Well, at least
Oh, thank you.
All right. Who got 100%? Okay, who needs me to put the chart up?
You got it.
Here, we'll go like this so you can grade yourselves.
That's me. That's me, man.
Yeah, it is.
All right. So show me again who got 100% on their first try. Good deal. So it's growing. More and more every week are getting 100 on it. So good deal. That's awesome. That's the way it's supposed to work. So we'll keep that up. We'll just keep doing that as we go. So I wanted to give you, let's take about 4 or 5 minutes to do the handout now. Some of you already have yours done. If you have it done, just kind of wave it at me and I'll go by and look at it and check it for you. But let's take about 4 or 5 minutes and do that handout, okay? That's from this week's Torah portion, from Torah portion Yitro. Okay, just don't leave. Oh, okay. That's fine. If anyone's done, just let me know. I can have to look it over for you. You're done? So you can use possible elimination. So yes. anybody needs any help, just holler at me. I'm gonna float around and make them nervous. Got it? You can use the process of elimination for the translation tool. I hope to, my final Hebrew lesson, give you guys like a cumulative kind of like quiz on all these words that we've been learning and see how many of them you can do. Stress you out. Yeah, whatever. Yep.
So, those are kind of reason a couple of them.
Yeah.
So are those two correct?
Nope. You got right means defeat.
Okay. Alright. Okay.
Yeah, so that gives you better.
I could see that.
Wait, scout you.
Is that correct?
Yep. Yep, you got that. Yeah, like the book. Yep, you got that.
So then that's the one.
There you go, yeah. Keen. All right, let's take another minute or so, guys. And I'm going to go through some of these with you. Take one more minute. Eshet Hayil. Yep.
I'm starting to get those.
Yeah.
I hear them.
I'll give you a hint. Sometimes we say Eshet Hayil over a woman. It's a blessing that you pray over your wife. The Eshet Hayil. Woman of valor, wife of valor. All right, I was kind of floating around. You guys seem to be doing really well with these. Let me go through with you now at least the transliteration, and we'll start at the top. Okay, that's last week's. Okay. So the first one, what's the first one? Let me pick on Stephanie on this week's.
Number one's Midian.
Midian, yeah. And so the translation column is the same thing, Midian. That's where Jethro lived, right? What is it, modern day Saudi Arabia? Let me pick on Anthony for the next one, number 2. Kohen. Now, Kohen is a priest, but a Kohen more literally means someone who wears, I think we talked about this a couple weeks back, someone who wears ritual garments, okay? So like an army officer with all of his regalia would be like a Kohen, okay? All right? And then it became called someone who mediates between God and man. What's the next one, Adrian? Sipporah. Yeah, Sipporah. What does that mean? Yeah.
It's a bird.
It's a bird, yeah. Sipporah is a bird. All right? Sipporah is bird. All right, let me pick on Patrick. Did you get the next one?
Yep.
What is it? Eshet. What does Eshet mean? Did you get that one? For Eshet, the meaning of it? Okay.
Wife.
All right. Yeah, look at your wife and say, you're my Eshet. All right. Let me pick on Joan, did you get the next one?
Eliezer.
Eliezer, yeah. And this is where we get the name like Lazarus. This became, if you have the name Eliezer, you would be called Lazer or Lazer. Lazer, and so that's where we get Lazarus, and if we take that name and move it into the Greek, we get Lazarus. So the guy that Yeshua resurrected from the dead, his name was Eliezer, and his Hebrew name would have been Eliezer, which means God is my helper. God is my helper, or my God helps. All right. Next one, Hannah, did you get the next one?
Midbar.
Midbar, yeah. Midbar means the wilderness. Midbar, wilderness. Okay, the next one is tricky because you're going to have odd sounding vowels in there. Stacy, did you get that one?
Hukim.
Hukim. And what is a hukim? What are hukim? It's a plural word. Statutes, yeah. They're a special kind of statute that we don't know the meaning behind, that we don't understand why. Does anyone know an example of a huk? The statute of sacrificing a red heifer. Yeah, that's found in the book of Leviticus. We don't know why the ashes of the red heifer are what cleanse the priest. What's another huk? Yeah, kashrut, or eating kosher, is considered a huk. We don't know the meaning behind it. Just God says, do this. Now we can make assumptions about the meaning behind kosher or something like that. Maybe it's health or whatever. I mean, and not eating cats and spreading Ebola or other kinds of communicable diseases. But so maybe he is smarter than us. I don't know. What's the next one? Hey, Ian, did you get the next one? Anosh. Yeah, anosh. What does anosh mean? It's man. Man. Anosh is man. And then, Raymond, did you get the next one?
I did. It's Yare.
Yare. And yare means to fear. Fear. Yep.
As in to obey. Or like tremble.
Yeah, kind of like tremble. Yeah, to be fearful. And this is from this week's Torah portion. They were yare. When they were standing at the base of Mount Sinai, they were fearful, right? Let's go with Bonnie. Did you get the next one?
Hamash.
Yeah, and there's a couple different ways to vocalize this. It could be chamash, it could be chumash, but it means 5. Chamash is 5. Okay. And then last one. Let's go with Kristen. Did you get the last one? Yitro. Yitro is Jethro. Jethro. I didn't look up the meaning of his name, but I'm sure there is a meaning behind it. But Yitro is Jethro. That's this week's Torah portion. All right, so you guys can hang on to those and study them. I will probably give you a comprehensive quiz from some of those, not all of the words, but I'll pull some of them out and see how you guys do in a couple weeks. But what I want to talk about is the Hebrew language and go into the history of the Hebrew language because it's really fascinating to me. Because like any language before the printing press, was invented was in a constant state of evolution. Why? Because before the printing press, the only thing around was handwriting, right? The only thing around was carving it into stone. So naturally, those things are going to change based on where you live, based on your handwriting abilities. Just like I walked around, I saw and observed all your different handwriting, right? And if I can tell a student turns an assignment into me, I can tell from their handwriting whose it is. They don't even have to put their name on it. Especially this late in the school year, I can tell people's handwriting. So Hebrew changed, and as you can see, top left-hand corner, that's a Moabite inscription on stone around 1000 BC, okay? And then to the top right, we have an Amorite inscription, and you can kind of see the similarities of them. And these are all Semitic, very proto-Semitic languages that originally were a pictographic form. For instance, if I take the Aleph, and I were to write the Aleph in its original pictographic form, what does that look like to you? Especially if I go like this.
Bull.
It looks like a bull, doesn't it? An Aleph, it's a bull, yeah. And then an ancient bait would have been something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But this would be the concept of a house, okay? So where you go in there, and that's for protection. So if you take that ancient pictographic form of these words, and so we put the bull and then the house like this, you get a sentence there. A bull is a picture of strength and dominance. And so if I translate this into modern Hebrew letters, you get the word Av, if you spell it this way, Av. And we say that in the Lord's Prayer, Avinu, our Father, Av. And in Aramaic, it became Ava, or Abba. But literally, it's the strength of the house, or the leader of the house. So in early Hebrew, you had these pictures that were contained. But as Hebrew progressed in the Hebrew Bible and the Hebrew speakers progressed, Hebrew became more of a complex language in that it didn't really carry through. When you get, especially in the times of like the Babylonian exile, you don't really have that pictographic form in every word, and you can't really derive a whole lot of meaning because it progresses as a language. But if you look at some of the earliest Hebrew texts, you can pull some of that out a little bit, but it's not consistent all the way through. There are people who say that it is, but it's really not. You kind of have to force your reading into it a little bit. But anyways, I wanted to show you kind of how it progressed. If you look at figure E6, which is on the right-hand column, I wish I had my laser pointer. Is not. You don't have any more of those batteries, do you, Anthony?
I have one more.
You have one more? Would you be able to... I think I either have dead batteries or there's not in there. Would you mind coming up and like popping one of those in there real fast? Do you mind? But you can see the figure E6, I think it is, Aramaic inscription on stone plaques, so it's kind of blocky. And then we come down to 200 BCE, Hebrew writings from the Dead Sea Scrolls. And that's someone's handwriting there. And then we get to figure E8, the modern Hebrew script from the Hebrew Bible. That's like set in stone, so to speak, but not really set in stone. That is the result of the printing press, okay? And so when you have a Hebrew Bible and you look at a Hebrew Bible, everything's been kind of like fossilized now because we have a printing press and everything's pretty standardized. But which one do you think is the Hebrew that Yeshua would have read in the synagogues?
Dead Sea Scroll era?
Yeah, the Dead Sea Scroll era. Yeah, and some people would call that Mishnaic Hebrew, because that's the period of the Mishnah. Okay, so let me show you another picture here. This is the great Isaiah scroll. I zoomed in on Isaiah chapter 7. You guys can find this online. It's a completely digitized copy of the great Isaiah scroll. It's a complete copy of the book of Isaiah found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, dated to 200 BCE, found in the caves of Qumran. But you can actually see the pores on the animal skin, right? 2,000 years old. You can still see it to this day. This is in the Shrine of the Book in Israel today. So if you go to Jerusalem with us in June, we'll go there. We'll look at the great Isaiah scroll. But I can't really read this Hebrew. There are Hebrew readers that can, obviously, because they can translate it. And there's people who study this period of Hebrew and become fluent in that period of Hebrew. But it's different. I can see some letters, like, somebody tell me a letter that you can pick out. Yeah, I hear Sheen, I hear Lamed. You see the...
I can see
Yeah.
IE.
But then there's some letters you're like, I really can't figure that out. It's kind of hard for me to see. But this would be Isaiah 7. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and give birth to a son. But I just wanted to show you, like I see a mem down here in the lower left-hand corner. Not working?
They both did.
I wonder if I moved it. When I dropped it, I could do it. Yeah, maybe I broke it. All right. Well, thanks for trying. The other thing I want to show you, let's fast forward now to the 10th century. The 10th century. And again, this is a document that is in the Shrine of the Book in Jerusalem as well that I've seen with my own eyes. This is the Aleppo Codex. The Aleppo Codex was written in Tiberias and then moved up north to Syria. And it was written in the 10th century. The Aleppo Codex is a really interesting document for Hebrew scholars because why? What do you see is different? Other than the font style, what do you see is different?
The Mazaros.
The vowel points, yeah. So by the 10th century, the Masoretes have developed a system of symbols and dots and dashes to tell us how to vocalize things. They gave us vowels. They created a vowel system that today is called the Nikud. And that vowel system is a relatively new thing for Hebrew. But now I can look at this and I can read this now because this is like closer to the process and the time period of Hebrew that we study. It's a little bit different, but this is really similar to what you would see in our Torah scroll as well. But I can see this is Acharei Mot Moshe. after the death of Moshe. And I could read this if I zoomed out. I could see. The other thing we see that's interesting about this is there's cantillation marks, where if you were wanting to sing it like a musical song, it gives you musical notes to do that. And but this is the Aleppo Codex. It is incomplete. I think there's something like 280-ish pages out of the original, almost 500 pages. It's incomplete. But it's the oldest copy of the Masoretic text that we have at our disposal, the oldest copy. And yeah, I don't know where his mother is. We have a complete copy of the Masoretic text that's about 1,000 years old, if I'm not mistaken. But this is from the 10th century. All right, but I wanted to show you guys just the evolution of Hebrew in those 10 centuries. All right, so let's do a little review, and then we're going to talk about Messiah. So what is this word here? Talmid. What is a Talmid? Disciple, yeah. A lifetime student, an imitator, right? Besorah. Besorah. All right? Shema. Derek. Derek.
Nosri. Zakin.
Yep.
Shema.
Yeah, these are last week's when we talked about the hierarchy of the local assembly. The Zakin is like a beard, an elder. Shamash is a servant, right? Zakin and Shamash. And the sun, which is reflecting off of the cars out there, that is the Shemesh, the servant, right? Shemesh. Okay, I want to start off, and we got about 15 minutes and we'll be done. The 13 principles of faith. How many of you ever heard of the 13 principles of faith? They were formulated by a famous rabbi called the Rambam. The Rambam, it's an acronym for Maimonides. Have you guys ever heard of the 13 articles of faith, 13 principles of faith? Okay, so the Rambam set out to create, how do we encapsulate the Jewish faith in these principles? So he laid out 13 principles, the 12th of which says that I believe in the arrival or the coming of Messiah and the Messianic era. And some would even go on to say that, though he delays, we still believe in his coming or something like that. So this is ingrained within the Jewish faith, is the expectation of the arrival of a figure, a individual called the Messiah. Okay? And that is fundamental within the Jewish faith that we and they expect a Messiah. But what's different about normative Judaism and Messianic Judaism is that we believe a Messiah has come already. And that's what the part about Messianic in front of Messianic Judaism. And that sets us apart and in many ways ostracizes us from normative Judaism. Okay? If I were to go into a church, which I've done obviously, and say we practice Messianic Judaism, it's like the church celebrates that. But if I go into a Orthodox synagogue that doesn't believe that Yeshua is Messiah, and I say we practice Messianic Judaism, it'd be like, there's the door, leave please. So it really is it's an odd dilemma in some ways. It's an odd relationship in some ways. And we very much are kind of a bridge in between the two in terms of how we carry out our faith and walk out our faith. We do a lot of Jewish things, iconically Jewish things, but in some way many ways we're closer to Christianity, but we're so different in some other ways. It's kind of an interesting thing. But anyways, I just want to share that with you. This is the Hebrew word Mashiach, and we have softened this over time and anglicized it over time to be Messiah. And in Uganda today, they don't say Messiah, they say Messiah. Even in English, they say Messiah Yeshua. But it's Mashiach. So you have that guttural chet at the end, Mashiach. All right? What is a Mashiach, though? Anyone know? In the most literal sense, what does Mashiach mean? Yeah, someone who has had oil poured over their head. Do you know that I'm a Mashiach? Yeah, one time I was in downtown Dothan. You guys were like, oh man, this guy's just lost his marbles. Yeah, I knew he was crazy. Now, one time I was in downtown Dothan, and I was waiting for a ballet recital thing to start because I was dating a girl who did ballet. And I got there early for some reason. I decided to take a walk, and I could hear music playing, and I went and walked into this neighborhood, and I'm really abbreviating the story down. But I walked up and they were having like this revival in someone's front yard, and I was like kind of just curious about it. So I sat down across the street from it, and they noticed me sitting across the street, and they called me over. And I didn't want to just like take off running. I didn't want to be rude. So they called me over, and they actually had me sit up on the porch next to the drummer, and watch everything that's going on. There's people sitting out in the yard, and there's prayer, and there's people. A preacher was preaching with a microphone in the front yard of this house near the Civic Center. And they called me down, and they started praying over me. And I remember looking down at the ground, and then all of a sudden I feel this wet substance hit the back of my head, and it begins to drip off of my hair and form a puddle in the sidewalk beneath my feet. And I'm like, what was that? And then I look up, and they're holding the remnants of a bottle of Crisco that they had just dumped most of over my head. And so they give me a roll of paper towels, and I'm wiping this Crisco off of my. But if I had a beard, it would have run down and dripped off of my beard at the time, because it was like dripping down all of my clothes and stuff. And so I was a little bit annoyed at the time, because I was wearing, I was trying to go to like this recital, and I ended up being very late and actually missed most of it because of all this. But anyways, I was Mashiach. I had oil poured over my head. Okay, that's the most literal sense of Mashiach. But as we progress through the Hebrew Bible, the concept of a Mashiach, this is Lego for you. The concept of a Mashiach has kind of centralized. And Judaism has said, and the prophets have given us hints that there will be the Mashiach. There are Mashiachs that have been throughout, like David was a Mashiach, Saul was a Mashiach, but there will be the Mashiach, the righteous king that comes. And we get the very first glimpse of needing a Savior, or needing a Mashiach, in Genesis chapter 3. And why do we get that glimpse? Because there was this thing called the Nachash, the serpent, that came on the scene. And he fooled Eve into eating and having a covenantal meal. And she went into covenant with this Nachash, whose numerical value is 358, by the way. She went into covenant with the Nachash, therefore breaking the covenant that she had established with God. And when her and Adam did this, we needed something to reverse that covenant. We needed something to reverse that curse. Mashiach, those Hebrew words, oddly enough, equal 358 as well. So the Mashiach is the antidote to the venom of the Nachash. Okay? He is the figure that's going to reverse that covenantal curse, that he's going to undo that covenant that humanity made with the Nachash. Okay? Nachash just means the shiny one, or it's actually the same word used for copper in Hebrew. You guys ever seen a copper Nachash? A Nachash? We'll see that in a second. So in Genesis 3:15, we get the very first glimpse, and it says that God is talking to Adam and Eve, and he says that your seed will always be at enmity with the seed of the snake. But your seed, he will crush the head of the snake, but the snake will bruise his heel. It's a very elusive, very cryptic passage. So throughout the years and the centuries, different people come on the scene, and they seem to possess qualities of the snake crusher, like Noah, Joseph, Moses, or was it King David? And then these prophets come on the scene, like Isaiah or Samuel or Micah or Malachi, Hosea. They come on the scene, and they begin to add other pieces to this puzzle of what the Mashiach will be like. And hey, welcome. Come on in, grab a seat. Yeah, we're doing Hebrew at 9. So we begin to put the prophets come in, and they, through the divine inspiration, begin to give utterances of what the snake crusher will be like. For instance, Isaiah says that he will have to be born to a virgin, and he will suffer for the sins of the world. Micah and Malachi say that he will heal, and he will also judge. The Psalms say that he will be a stone that the builders will reject. But Psalm 22 says that his hands and his feet will be pierced. He will be like a worm that is despised and hangs on a tree, a very special worm called the Tola'at, by the way. Very interesting study. But the prophets give us over 300 pieces of this puzzle that we can use to put together. Daniel says that he must come at a certain time before the destruction of the second temple. So we have all these little hints about what the Mashiach will be like. And then Isaiah 52, it says, I thought this was interesting, It says, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring, in the first red word we have, what is that? Beser, where we get Besorah, the good news. How beautiful are the feet of those who bring the Besorah. And it says that he will become Mashmiah Yeshua, and bring the word of salvation, Lesion, to Zion. Bring Yeshua to Zion. Isn't that interesting? So Isaiah gives us a hint of what his name will actually be. Yeshua, salvation. Well, that's interesting. So these legends of the coming Messiah were referred to as the good news, because it's good news when Messiah comes. He will establish peace. He will be a perfect king. God would soon send someone to permanently restore the kingdom of Israel and gather in the exiles of Israel once and for all. And that's why the disciples come to Yeshua and they say, Rabbi, at what point will you restore the kingdom of Israel? Because that's the expectation we have for the Mashiach. They believe that he's Mashiach. He will do this. And the sages were split into three main groups. One said, and these were primarily the Sadducees, would say, we don't need a Mashiach. We can kind of coexist. And there is no concept of Mashiach. And there isn't a central figure that's going to come on the scene. Number two, the Mashiach is coming, and he will be a king, and he will throw off our oppressors by force. And unless he does that, he's not the Mashiach. Group 3 says the Mashiach will come, but will first have to suffer and die for the sins of the Jewish people, and then be resurrected, and then be exalted as the king. Okay? Which group was right? Yeah, mostly number 3, right? Number 3. John 11:45. Does anybody have a Bible? Can you turn there, and then first person just read it for me out loud, John 14. And this, we never see this, when you're reading it, you always kind of just gloss over this, but it's there, and it's fascinating to read. So, hey guys, come on in. How y'all doing? We're just having Hebrew class. Come on. John 11:45. I'm sorry, John 11:45. Yeah, we might have some, if you guys would just unfold some chairs over there. Just to verse 53. Just read it nice and loud.
Therefore many of the Jews who came to Mary and saw what he did believed in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. So the chief priests and the Pharisees convened the Sanhedrin and said, what are we going to do since this man does many signs? If we let him continue in this way, everyone will believe in him. Then the Romans will come and remove both our place and our nation. One of them, Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, said to them, you know nothing at all. You are not considering that it is to your advantage that one man should die for the people rather than the whole nation perish. He did not say this on his own, that being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus was going to die for the nation, and not for the nation only, but also to unite the scattered children of God. So from that day on, they plotted to kill him. Therefore, Jesus no longer walked openly among the Jews, but departed from there to the countryside near the wilderness to a town called Ephraim. And he stayed there with the disciples.
So isn't it interesting that Caiaphas predicted that Jesus, Yeshua, would have to die for not only that nation, but to regather the exiles. Interesting. So it almost sounds like Caiaphas thought that he was the Messiah, that he was a good candidate to be Messiah. But it's so fascinating. We never really, I skipped over that, I glossed over that so much until recently. But Messiah had to, in short, Messiah had to be the second Adam. And I love this painting here because it's a picture of Mary with Yeshua in her womb, and she's comforting Eve, who has a snake wrapped around her leg. And look at Mary's foot; she's crushing the serpent. Right? Isn't that interesting? It's a really. So he's the bookend to Eve or to Adam. He becomes the second Adam, right? And so he's undoing the curse that Adam brought on, and we see Adam partake in a covenantal meal with the Nachash, with the serpent, and enter into covenant with the serpent. And then what do we see right before Yeshua's death? He says, take and eat. This is my body, broken for you. Take this cup. This is the cup of the kingdom. This is the cup of the new covenant that I am making with you. It's a cup of the covenant that will undo what happened in the garden. So we have a perfect bookend of him becoming the second Adam. And first Adam disobeyed, second Adam obeyed perfectly. Even when he was met face to face with the enemy, he obeys perfectly. He doesn't fall for temptation. He is the perfect candidate for being the Mashiach and undoing what Adam did in the garden. So we see Messiah through progressive revelation. 1 Corinthians, Paul says that he has to undo Adam's sin. Isaiah 53 says he has to atone for the nation of Israel. Isaiah 11 says you'll begin the gathering in of the exiled children of God. And then Isaiah 42 again says that he'll bring justice and salvation to the nations. So is he doing all those things? Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, just the fact that you're sitting in this room right now in Dothan, Alabama, learning the Hebrew language and learning about this concept of Mashiach, I mean, 100 years ago, this would have been unfathomable, right? Think about that for a second. Let that set in. And I'm about to take 25 of you all to Israel in June. So not only is he regathering the exiles of Israel, which they're moving to Israel in droves right now, but he's causing the Gentiles to be provoked and have a longing for Zion. He's bringing a light to the nations. That he's writing that on their hearts and saying, come to my mountain. Isaiah 2, right? Let's go up to the mountain, the house of the God of Jacob, who teach us his ways, right? So I think it's really cool. So I like this picture. Just as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, you see the copper nachash, the nachash. That is a picture of what would happen to the one who is to undo the nachash, to undo the covenant, to reset those terms, legally speaking. Even so must the Son of Man be lifted up, and whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Adam's sin caused death to enter the world. Yeshua's sacrifice caused life and the assurance to be a part of the resurrection of the dead. Isn't that beautiful? And there he is. He's the snake crusher. So that is why we believe in the Mashiach. We agree in the coming of Mashiach, except we differ with normative Judaism. We believe that he already came and that he's coming again. We believe that he came as Messiah ben Yosef, the suffering Messiah servant that was like Joseph, but we believe he's coming again as Mashiach ben David, the conquering king, the one that will arbitrate between the nations with the sword in his hand, right? Well, let's review one more time, and we're going to close in prayer. We're right at 10 o'clock, so we're doing good. All right, what's this word? Talmid. Besorah. Shema. Good. Derech. Haderech. The way. Notzri. Notzrim, the plural form of it. Ha-Notzrim. The Notzrim. Zaken. Guys, a little bit quiet on that one. Zaken, the top word, means the beard or an elder. Shamash means one who serves, right? Here's the last word for today. Mashiach. All right. Any questions before we close in prayer? Anything? Cool. Yeah. Lila is night. Yeah. Lila is evening or night. Yeah. Okay, let's close in prayer. Avinu Malchenu, we're so grateful for your Shabbat again. Thankful for your Mashiach that you sent to undo the sin of Adam and to undo the curse of death that Adam's sin brought into this world. We thank you that you have crushed the serpent's head. And Father, I just pray for those that are yet to come to knowledge and salvation, the knowledge of Yeshua, the knowledge of Mashiach as their King, that you would put them in our path, and that you would open doors and opportunities where we could share the good news, the Besorah of the Mashiach with them, and let them know that the curse of sin and death has been broken and been crushed. Put them in our path somewhere this week, Father, and give us the words to say and boldness to them and in love to them. And it's in Yeshua HaMashiach's mighty name we pray. Amen. All right, thank you guys. We're going to set up for Shabbat service here. Thank you all for